Hello and welcome back to a very special episode of If You Like This Fragrance, Then You Might Like These 5 Fragrances. First, let's get a little bit of context. In art, making a sequel to anything can be risky. It might not hold up to the original, it might be rejected by the fan base, and overall it just might not be a success. It might be seen as a cash grab, it might be seen as a cynical way of making money. There are, of course, especially in the case of films, wonderful examples of sequels that even trumped the original films. But in fragrances, I'd consider that to be even rarer. However, there have been notable occurrences when fragrance sequels, or as they're called, flankers, have overseeded the originals. For example, Dior Homme Intense slightly won the culture war over Dior Homme, L'Or Homme Sport, and even the flanker to the flanker, L'Or Homme Sport Eau Extreme, which I'll be doing an episode on that fragrance with this format. But I think that one of the best examples was Acqua di Gio that came out in the 90s, and then nearly 20 years later, Acqua di Gio Profumo came out and became as big, if not more of a hit, than the original. Probably not. I mean, Acqua di Gio was pretty iconic, but Profumo definitely stacked up and introduced a whole new audience to the Acqua di Gio line. If you've never seen this format before, there are 5 categories. There's straight up clone, which is a fragrance that is pretty much identical to the original fragrance that we're talking about, albeit hopefully a little bit cheaper. Alternate with a twist, so a fragrance that is similar in vein but has a little bit of a difference. Then there's note sibling. This is going to be an exciting one today because the note is of rosemary, a very unique note in perfumery, not used a lot, so I had a lot of fun with finding a fragrance that was similar. Then we have further adventure. What is a fragrance that you could go to next after this fragrance? I've got one that could be a controversial one, but I have my reasons why I picked it. And finally, the wild card. You may like it if you like this fragrance, you may not. It's a coin toss, it's a 50-50 chance. So let's start with straight up clone. This was difficult. This was actually harder than I ever envisioned it to be. I thought there must be a load of clones that are like Profumo, but there weren't. And so in the end, I had to resort to an old favourite, Perry Ellis's 360 Red. Now this is more of a clone of the original Acqua di Gio, but I do think that it has some similarities to this. It has got herbal, uplifting smell. I think that 360 is actually somewhere in between this fragrance and Acqua di Gio. It's somewhere in the middle, so I totally buy you having that as a clone. Okay, so alternate with a twist. This is another fragrance that I own, but I don't have because it's at my parents', but you've seen me talk about it a load of times. This was an easy one. This is Ralph Lauren's Polo Deep Blue. This is one of the biggest fragrances with Gen Z right now ever. This is a hugely popular fragrance, and it is very similar to Acqua di Gio Profumo, but it is more oceanic. This has rosemary, it has thyme, it has like a herbal, bakery sort of focaccia type of bread smell. That's all the way turned down, and Polo Deep Blue is more of an aquatic ensemble, a little bit more sea salt and a lot more youthful. So if you're somebody who likes the idea of Acqua di Gio Profumo, but it just smells a little bit too mature, and even the aesthetic is, it's quite a mature fragrance bottle, and you just want something younger, but you like the vibe, then totally go for Polo's Deep Blue. As you can see, there's a lot of fragrances here. If you've been wading through endless top 10s and you really don't know where to go, you don't know completely what your taste is, and you don't know who's right, these are just personal fragrance recommendations of fragrances that I like. What you need is a bespoke recommendation catered to you. And that's why I do one-to-one Zoom fragrance consultations. For $85, I'm going to give you the power to make your own independent fragrance decisions, and you won't need to watch endless top 10s and endless fragrance content. You will be given your own independent power. In the fragrance consultation, I go through your fragrance timeline, you tell me what fragrances you like, and I will tell you exactly what your fragrance taste is, where you may have gone wrong, and where you can go to next. But not just that, after that, I will give you a follow-up report in which I will give you an even more detailed understanding of your own taste, of what fragrances you should go to, what fragrance houses I think that you're going to warm to, and what fragrances, of course, to avoid and are probably not worth your time and money. Now, going from something that is very young, what if we want something that is older than this fragrance, something that is more mature than this fragrance? Well, we're going to go with note sibling with rosemary, and we're going to go to a fragrance that I am planning on purchasing probably at the start of next year. This is an incredible fragrance by Tom Ford. This is Tom Ford Beau de Jour. This is in the same league to me as Eau Sauvage Parfum by Christian Dior, which I absolutely love. I think it's one of the most masculine fragrances that there is, but it does have a similarity with the rosemary notes. and it is definitely in the same vein, but that's more mature. That is more, you're a CEO, you're living on a yacht, you have a lot of money, you've made it in life. But yeah, Acqua di Gio, if you're a fan of this, if you're a fan of Eau Sauvage, if you're a fan of Fougères, then you've totally got to check out Acqua di Gio. Okay, so Further Adventure, Further Adventure, you could totally argue that Acqua di Gio is a good option there. But I wanted something different. I wanted something that, most of you who are in designer land, you won't have tried this. This is Yuzu Soda by Stranger's Parfumery. This is like a 1970s summer fragrance, but modernized with a lot of modern sweetness and a lot of modern fruit accords. This has got similar kind of ideas in the note breakdown. This has got rosemary. This has got the herbaceous notes that Profumo has, so it is definitely in the same ballpark. But this is lighter, this is more modern, and this has got the maturity of Profumo, but takes it in a very, very different direction. So it's got the herby, citrusy, but it's definitely less aquatic than Profumo. It's more sweet, more citrusy. This has got mint, it's got orange, it's got yuzu. So going borderline tropical. I think that this actually also really reminds me of Kouros by Yves Saint Laurent. That bleachy 1970s smell, but updated with a lot of great citruses. So I'm very comfortable in thinking that this is a Further Adventure. I am pretty convinced that if you love this, there's a really good chance that you're going to like this one. And then the wild card. It was an interesting one for me. I had to think about it. There's been a lot of different fragrances that I've been testing out lately and experimenting, and this is a fragrance that I've been testing a lot recently. This is Signature Royale X by George Zaharoff. This is a wild card because, it's a great fragrance, but this is the maturity level of Profumo, no doubt, but it's very different. It's a lot more rubbery, it's a lot shinier, it's a lot more bleak than Profumo. Profumo is a very positive fragrance, a very happy fragrance. This is a little bit darker, a little bit bleaker, but this is for men who want a mature-like fragrance, like Profumo, like Acqua di Gio, like Dior Eau Sauvage Parfum, but they want it modern, they want it in the autumn, they want it in the winter. One of the most unique selling points about all of the Zaharoff fragrances is that they are both old and yet they are new. They are both familiar and yet they are unique. I don't know quite how Claude Deur pulls that trick off with the direction of George Zaharoff, but they pull it off every single time. And that was the thing that really drew me to this, because this is also, familiar with the Acqua di Gio DNA, but it's also unique with the herbaceous notes. And this is definitely mature, but it's also got that youthful, sweet, aquatic note. So that is the thing that drew me to get these two together. Thank you so much for watching, and if you want to request the next episode of, if you like this fragrance, you might like these 5 fragrances, then consider signing up to my Patreon and going on to the Patreon Discord. The Patreon gang are a thriving sub-community in the fragrance community, actually, and we all have open discussions about what fragrances I should talk about next, what videos I should do next, what formats should return, and what new fragrance video formats I should do. So hopefully see you there. We're all waiting for you. Thanks so much, guys. I'm the Fragrance Prince. I'll see you soon. Bye.